we are diving in because you guys know that when I have stuff that kind of happens over and over again in the day, it seems like God winks to me, right? Where there are themes, things that are happening to not lots of people, but I just feel like when it comes up over and over again and it's a theme that it might be something that other people are going through too. But I was having a couple of conversations with people yesterday just about stuff that we go through and grow through the more that you put yourself out there and that you put your story out in public, right? And we also live in a culture right now where it is very easy for people to sit behind a computer screen and give their 2 cents instead of just scrolling by. Or they just get on to rant and rave instead of like, the things that you tell your husband or your best friend or somebody in confident because you know that you just need to vent it out. Like that's a normal part of life. Well, now people kind of feel like they just need to vent it out on social media and like be present to all the things. So we're going to dive into it just a little bit this morning because I know that some people mentioned it last night in calls, like how do you on the Zoom, how do you deal with X, Y, and Z? And how do you keep pushing forward when people aren't maybe responding to you or they're being super negative to you? Or when you just don't even really want to get started because you have that underlying fear of what other people are going to think about you. So, what I want you guys to do right now, um, and the part of this, I was listening to a call this morning, and they just kept reiterating you will never be criticized by someone that's doing more than you. You will only ever be criticized and ridiculed and put down by somebody that's doing less than you. And that less than to me is not monetarily, it's not somebody that's like getting up and going to work every day. It's somebody that's doing less of the growth piece. Somebody that's not ready to willing to dive in and really do the work behind the feelings and the emotions and the mindset. So I want you to think of a time where you felt like you were looking at somebody else and you wanted what they had and the jealousy crept in. And I'm going to give you an example of mine, but we've all had those moments, right? You've seen somebody else. Maybe it's in relation to your health and wellness journey. Maybe it's in relation to somebody buying something that you've really been wanting. Maybe it's in relation to this business, seeing other people sponsoring or ranking, and you really want that and you haven't gotten there yet. So I want you just for a hot second to think about a time, whatever pops into your head. There's no shame, there's no guilt, none of that stuff surrounding it. So I'll shut up for a second and let you think of something. And what I want to do this morning is deconstruct that mindset with you guys, because I think that when we can look at things objectively, when we're all feeling people, right? We're here because we love people and we love being able to share something that's helped us. And sometimes it can feel a little bit like, gah, like I've got to remove the feelings from that situation and just look at the facts. I'm going to use an example that I've used before, and Chelsea and I have talked about this all the time, and I know that she's on here and she will be 100% okay with this. But before I started Plexus, she was constantly, and she can vouch for this, she was constantly messaging me and being like, listen, and I was not in a good spot, not in a good spot at all. My joints were swelling. I mean, I could cry thinking about it, looking back on it now, because I can't believe that every single day was like this, where migraines ruled by my cycle. My joints were swelling. I was on medication every day. I was taking 17 different supplements. And I would look at Chelsea going out and rocking things, being able to run, being able to bike, being able to do all of those things physically. And there was never a time where, I mean, we do life together. You guys see us do life together every single day. There was not a time where I wasn't cheering her on, right? We do life together. But inside, I was like, gosh, okay, I need to get over myself and support her through this, even though I am feeling like, man, I want that and it will never be mine. And she would show up and she would be like, okay, let's go work out. I'd be like, okay, that's a hard no. Because I couldn't, right, Chels? Like, I could not get there. I didn't have the right mindset. My body was a disaster. And I looked at her and I wanted the things that she was doing, but I couldn't get there. Have y'all ever felt like that before? Like you want the things that other people are doing, but you feel stuck. And you can't quite put your finger on what you need to do for the growth piece. Maybe it's looking at other people like that with the health and wellness part of it. And you want the things that they want, but you haven't really objectively looked down to see what else you could be doing. Maybe you have to change your diet. Maybe you have to push your water. Maybe you just need to reach out and ask for help. Maybe you're not at the same page as everybody else. You're still on chapter 1 and they're at chapter 10 because they've been on the growth journey longer. Now, I want you to take that and I want you to look at it from the perspective of there are people that are going through that right now, and they have no qualms about jumping on social media and blasting people for it. I had it happen to me yesterday. It happens when you put yourself out there and other people are seeing the things that you're doing and they have no qualms about hiding behind a computer screen and telling you exactly how they feel. And we're human, and so it bothers us. I know Wendy and I were talking about this last week. There's somebody that lives in our area, and I hadn't seen the post, but once she brought it to my attention, I went back and looked, and it was blasting network marketing and our pink drink. Now, I know from behind the scenes that this person has tried it, did not stay consistent with it, and really, really needs it. Really needs it. But that's not what they're putting out there, right? Because what is it easier to do? It is easier to stay stuck in our mindsets. It's easier to stay stuck in our comfort zones, even though that's still choosing hard. It was hard for me to get over myself and realize, like, man, I had to take a step, right? I had to get consistent with stuff. I had to push through the hard. Will you change everybody's mind? No, you won't. That's what makes the world go round. There are some people that will always just be jerks. They will. But are you willing to let that stop you from doing the things that you really want to do in life? When you have somebody that comes up against you, when you have somebody that does the negative post, and sometimes, a lot of times, it's family. Why? Why we've talked about this. Why is it easier to share with strangers? Because when you're sharing with people that are close to you, especially a lot of us, we live in small town mindset, right? It is hard for those people that have always known us to see us growing in things that we want to grow in. And they're not willing to go through it and do it. But don't you dare let that stop you from doing the things that you want to do. We can either use it as a motivator, which is exactly what Chelsea is for me. I told her I was going to go for a run the other day, and she was giving me tips on running. She motivates me to no extent. Y'all do, right? I keep showing up every single day because I'm part of a tribe that motivates people. We can either stay stuck or we can grow through it. And I want you to look back at those times when you've been jealous of other people, or maybe you've wanted something that they've had and you've had those negative mindset thoughts. Have you stayed there or have you grown through it? And do you have somebody that's looking at you right now with that negative mindset? Maybe they've said something and it becomes part of your fear story. Well, I don't want to post again because I don't want this person to comment. I don't want to put myself out there. I don't want to talk about it with them because they didn't answer me back the last time. Or I mentioned the pink drink and they laughed at me. You will have people that don't agree with what you're doing. And that's where your mindset and your belief come in every single time. Because I promise you, last night, I wanted to put my phone down and I wanted to walk away. And I did for a little bit. But then I picked it back up and I had 2 people sign off of that same post that somebody was super critical and negative of me with on Instagram. What happens if we're willing to just accept defeat that somebody doesn't like us? What happens if it causes us to not post for a little while? Court and I were talking about this yesterday. I can track every single time that I've been in a high with my business is because I am doing the mindset work. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm doing Diamond Docs to build belief. And I'm voicing my frustrations and then growing through them. Instead of letting myself sit back and not tackle the hard. If you have that today, if you're feeling like that, I want you to dive into it. Look at the facts, remove the feelings from it. And for some of us, that's hard. Like, what did this come to hurt me with? What did this come to teach me? What am I willing to grow through today instead of staying stuck? Because we choose our hard every single day. I loved when Court said this last night, that she did not want to do X, Y, and Z, but she knew she had to do it. I'll never forget the first time that she was doing a call and she was like, no, I don't want you to be part of it. And I was like, what? Like, you don't want me to help you? Like, I'm a helper. I love being there. And then she was like, no, because if you're part of it, I'm not going to do it. And I won't grow through it. And I won't learn to step up to the plate. And that's huge. What do you have right now that you're willing to just sit back and let other people do for you instead of stepping up to the plate and looking for that growth piece? You can always grow. None of us have ever fully arrived on this. I promise you. So right now, for a couple of minutes, what I want you to do is I want you to really think about something that's stopping you right now. What is that fear story that you have in your head? I know, I can't dive into the Instagram world because my pictures aren't perfect. I don't know how to do a reel. Everybody keeps talking about filters. I don't know what a filter is. I don't want to post this on Facebook because I know that this person will laugh at me or they'll talk about me behind my back, whatever it is. What is that thing that pops up for you? What's holding you back right now? And I want you to write it down. And then I want you to look at the facts behind it. And I should have asked you about this beforehand, but it just popped into my head. Do you mind if I share, and you might be in the shower right now, do you mind if I share part of our conversation yesterday about your fear stories?
I'm sure she doesn't care.
Tara, I love you. Sister speaking.
I'll pull the older sister card.
I love it. I'm sure she doesn't care either, but that was good. So yesterday, and Ange, forgive me, but I'm sure that you'll be okay with this because I know that you are all about the growth. Ange did her first messenger chat event completely by herself. She did all of the posting, she set up all the groups, invited everybody, jumped into her team page, did all of the things. And she messaged me and she just said, "What happens if nobody shows up?" Or, "I'm glad that not a lot of people are in there yet because it's the first time that I'm doing it. And if I mess up, then not as many people will know." How many of us have done this before? I completely have. I'm going to put myself out there. I love that quote, Tara, Debbie. Like, we've put ourselves out there, but secretly we're like, okay, I'm proud of myself, but I hope no one sees it. Like, I love that picture and that post was really good, but it'll be okay if nobody sees it because then I don't really have to talk about it. We've all done it. And yesterday, I love that Angie is willing to always tell me this stuff because it's growth, right? And she knows if she tells me, I'm going to push her through it. And that was one of the things that I said to her. Look at the facts behind this. Remove the feelings of failure, remove the feelings of shame or guilt, and look at the facts. What if you post something wrong? What's really going to happen? The fact is, no one is going to know that you didn't post something in order, right? The fact is that if it goes over 15 minutes, there's nothing wrong with that. If it goes under 15 minutes, there's nothing wrong with that. The fact is, if you put yourself out there and nobody joins, it's okay because it's not their time yet, but you've grown through it. But what do we do? Good morning, Kenna. What do we do? Exactly, Terry. It's ourselves, right? We attach so many feelings to it. Like, oh my gosh, if I post and it's over 15 minutes, I've done it wrong. I've failed. And then what does fail lead to? The failure leads to shame and guilt. And then I'm not good enough. And it activates all these fear stories. No, the fact is, if you went over 15 minutes, you went over 15 minutes. And if somebody is really sitting at home with their timer and they're like, oh, we went over 15 minutes on this, they promised me it'd only be 15 minutes, they're probably not our people. Or they really need to be our people, right? The fact is, if you put up a post and somebody doesn't like it, that's on them. It's not on us. At any given moment, and I said this to my troll yesterday, scroll by. I see things that I don't like every single day. Guess what I do? I scroll by it. Social media is filled with it right now. That's what life is. It's about choices. And if somebody doesn't want to make the same choice that we've made, it says nothing about either one of us, really. So I want you to dive into that today. What are you stopping yourself from doing right now because you have way too many feelings associated with it? Feelings are not a bad thing. They make us really good at what we do. But stop feeding yourselves lines that you're not good enough, or that you can't do it, or that it's not meant for you, or that somebody's not going to like you. Because I promise you, for every one person that doesn't like you, there's 1,000 other people that are waiting to hear your story. And I don't really think that those numbers are that far off. I've shared this with you guys before. 4,000 people on our team. I can honestly think of 2 names of people that have been really negative to me that I actually know. What if I would have let two people stop me? And it was pretty early on. God didn't put me here to fail. He didn't. If I choose to fail, that's on me. You can go through and grow through the hard things. Okay. What I want you to do in addition to that today, we fail forward. I love that, Tara. It's one of my absolute favorite sayings. We can either stop ourselves or we can fail forward. And everyone.
I also wanted to say one thing quick.
Yeah, I love it.
Is that I think also with, at least with me, with the personal growth and stuff like that, I need to stop allowing people to dictate who I'm going to be.
Mhm.
And I need to let myself be who I want to be. And that's where there's like a line. You know what I mean?
Oh, Tara, I love that.
That's all I had to say.
I love it. And I'm so glad that you did, because I know that everybody's like, amen, yes. Preach at me, because that's something that all of us do. I mean, how many of us, when we take the Enneagram test and it's like, oh, they give the example of like, I'm really outgoing, like I walk into a crowd, I'm really outgoing, I'm kind of outgoing, I would rather walk out of the room. And some of us are like, I'd rather walk out of the room. But then we're like, yeah, Court, I love it. But then sometimes in our minds, we're like, but we should want to be with people. No, you shouldn't. Like if you're introverted, you're introverted. It's the world that tells us we have to act a certain way, right?
Hi, baby. I was coming upstairs. Hi.
Ooh, Michelle, did you have something?
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, like yeah, this, I don't know. I think what you shared is really awesome. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry. I've been just listening to everything, and I really love what Tara just shared too. And I've just had a really tough couple of days emotionally. And when I know someone doesn't like me and they tell me, that they don't like me, it really just hits something inside me, like deeply. Like, I don't know why I care so much about my ex-husband wife not liking me. Why does that bother me so much? We're not for everybody. We're not everybody's cup of tea. So I just did a post about self-care, because that it's not shattering. You know what I mean? It's my ex-husband's ex-wife. We're ex for a reason, right? But still, it just hits something inside me, because she doesn't really know me. She just knows that, you know what I mean? And I don't know why I'm letting it rent space in my head, because I'm really not a fan either of her, but I'm not going to character assassinate. So when someone hurts your feelings or whatever, I know people are very quick to character assassinate, you know what I mean, and put each other down. And I'm just trying to stay positive. I really am. And because I'm a 2, like you, Brienne, and I want people to
Mhm.
like me. There's like, I don't think it's a need, but just like deep inside, I want to people please, and I want to make everyone like me and have positive things to say about me, not glare all these things that that's not even true. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's making any sense, but I just heard what Tara said too, and it just resonated with me. So sorry, that's all I wanted to share.
Well, I think you hit for so many people, because a lot of us are 2s, and even if we're not, we genuinely want people to like us, right? Like that. I mean, nobody wants anybody to say anything negative about us. And that's
Right.
where the growth piece comes in, because the more there's a reel that's going around right now that's like, my job today is to like me. I think Court did this one. Like, my job today is for me to like me. Like, your like is extra. But we live in a social media world where we do, like, we thrive on the likes and the comments and the shares. Like, that's what we've become part of. 10 years ago, you wouldn't even have known that she didn't like you, right? And at the end of the day, it's not about somebody else not liking you. I really fully believe this. It's because when people scapegoat us, when people attach a feeling to us, it's because it highlights something that they don't like in themselves. And when I'm really fully honest with myself, the things that I don't love about other people, it's because I either really want it or it highlights an insecurity in myself. And that's true for so many people. But if they're not willing to do the growth work, they never really arrive at that. I mean, it's not a bad thing. Like, rephrase that. It's not a bad thing that I care what other people think about me. I think that we're raised, Chelsea and I tell each other this all the time, like, sticks and stones, they'll break your bones, words won't hurt you. That's a load of crap.
Of crap.
Like it does hurt, and it's not a bad thing, but we grow up thinking like, oh, well, I shouldn't have this feeling. I shouldn't let other people affect me. The reality is that because I love people, I'm good at what I do. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing that we want people to accept us. What becomes a bad thing about it is when we let it dictate us, like what Tara said. You can let it affect you and you can grow through it, or you can let it stop you. And nobody gets to have that hold over you unless you say so. Yeah, I love that quote. She said, and it really, I mean, who we are on the Enneagram or what we are does, I feel like it helps us understand ourselves. But I think everybody feels that to the core. It's what stops us, right? We want to be loved and accepted. Okay, today, your 5 people, make sure that you're reaching out IPAs every day, right? Make sure that you're reaching out to your 5 people, new people, conversations, not about Plexus. 4-minute video, go into YouTube, type in motivational video, go to Plexus Worldwide on YouTube, go and watch a Diamond Doc, build that belief for yourself. 3 people that you're following up with, 2 new, and Mina always puts this in, and then 1 story, 1 graphic. And I love that Sarah shared this last night. She's not making new graphics every day for herself, for her stories, right? She's going into that One Plexus Instagram page and she's pulling things out. If you love making graphics, make it. If you don't do it. Work smarter, not harder, right? All right. I love you guys. Happy Tuesday. Thank you, Tara and Michelle, for sharing that.
Wait,
And
I just wanted to say one more thing.
Go ahead.
Eleanor Roosevelt said many years ago, obviously, that nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent. I love that.
I love that. That's a perfect thing to end on today. All right. Love you, ladies. Thank you, Michelle.